Which is better, the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G or the Google Pixel 6a? Well, in this video, we're going to find out. What's going on, everyone? This is Kevin here, and this is the Galaxy A54 5G versus the Pixel 6a. Now, the A54 5G was recently launched in March of 2023, and the Pixel 6a was launched in July of 2022. So we most likely do have a successor to the 6a coming out pretty soon, but for now, this is the most up-to-date mid-range Pixel product. I'd also like to mention too that I am part of Team Pixel, and this phone is a gift from Google, but all opinions expressed in this video and all my previous Pixel videos have been completely my own. Now, the first thing I want to discuss is that both of these phones do have pretty much the same MSRP at $449, so they are direct competitors. And I have linked to them in the video description so you can see the most up-to-date pricing and availability. Because as time goes on, I'm sure there'll be different deals and offers and promotions, so definitely take a look and see for yourself. Now, the first thing I want to discuss are the displays of these two devices, and there are quite a few differences. The first thing is, as far as display size goes, we are getting a much larger display with the A54 5G at 6.4 inches, compared to 6.1 inches with the Pixel 6a. And you can see that when putting the two phones on the same level, the A54 5G is certainly the larger phone of the two. Another interesting thing as well is that with the A54, the corners of the display are a lot more rounded, whereas the Pixel 6a is much more of a boxier phone. I'm not sure if one is better than the other in that regard. It really comes down to personal preference. So definitely let me know in the comments what you prefer. Now, as far as the displays go, with the A54 5G, we're getting a Super AMOLED display at 120 Hz compared to an OLED display at 60 Hz with the Pixel 6a. So we're getting a much faster, smoother refresh rate with the A54 5G compared to the Pixel. But that being said though, the Pixel is still very fast and responsive. Now, both phones do feature 1080p displays. With the Galaxy, we're getting a PPI of 403 compared to a PPI of 429 with the Pixel 6a. And then with the A54 5G, we have a 19.5:9 aspect ratio compared to 20:9 with the Pixel 6a. And then with the Samsung, we have an 82.9% screen-to-body ratio compared to an 83% screen-to-body ratio with the Pixel. So the A54 5G does have a little bit of a shorter, wider form factor compared to the 6a as far as the actual aspect ratios go. Now, both phones do feature hole punches for the front-facing cameras, and with the A54 5G, we have a 32 megapixel front-facing camera compared to 8 megapixels with the Pixel 6a. And then both phones do feature 128 gigabytes of internal storage, but with the Pixel 6a, we have no microSD card expansion, whereas we do have microSD card expansion with the A54 5G. And that's especially convenient if you want to offload photos and videos, for example, to free up some internal space. Now, neither of these two phones have wireless charging, which is pretty disappointing, but on the other hand, kind of expected for a mid-range device. But both phones do feature in-display fingerprint sensors. So let's give that a try right now, starting off with the A54 5G. So there we go, very fast and responsive. And let's now try it out with the Pixel 6a. So very fast there as well. Now, unfortunately, with the Pixel 6a, there is no face unlock as an option, whereas we do get face unlock with the A54 5G. Now, taking a look at the cameras of these two devices, there are definitely quite a few differences here. First thing is, we get a triple camera setup with the A54 5G compared to a dual camera setup with the Pixel 6a. So with the A54 5G, we're getting a 50 megapixel main camera, a 12 megapixel ultra wide angle camera that can capture images at up to 123 degrees, and we're getting a 5 megapixel macro camera for close-up images. Whereas with the Pixel 6a, we're getting a 12.2 megapixel main camera and a 12 megapixel ultra wide angle camera, but no macro camera here with the device. Also, the whole design of the camera modules is very different too. We basically get a stack of 3 different cameras with the A54, whereas with the Pixel, we have this kind of long camera bar. Now, here's how things look on the camera apps on both devices. This is the main rear camera on both. Then from there, we can switch over to the ultra wide angle cameras. And with the A54 5G, the ultra wide camera can definitely go a lot wider in comparison, so I do appreciate that. And then with the A54, we do have that macro mode for close-up images, but that feature is not present on the Pixel. But then we can head over to portrait mode in both phones to get those nice blurred out backgrounds. Another thing too that's pretty interesting is that with the A54, the portrait mode does not crop in nearly as much as it does with the Pixel. So you can see how much space we're basically losing out on with portrait mode on the Pixel. So that actually is pretty interesting. I wasn't really even expecting to see that difference. Then flipping around to the front-facing cameras, we can do portrait mode with both phones, and then we can also take standard selfies as well. Now with both devices, we are getting 6GB of RAM, however the processors are different. So with the Galaxy A54 5G, we have the Samsung Exynos 1380, whereas with the Pixel 6a, we have the Google Tensor processor. Now both processors do support 5G connectivity, which is really nice, so you can pair these phones up with your favorite 5G network. Now it does seem like the Pixel is the faster phone of the two, and that's definitely reflected here in the benchmark scores. So you can see that the score is a lot higher for the 6A compared to the A54 5G. Now overall, I feel like both phones are very capable. If you're kind of doing the standard types of tasks that you do on a smartphone, such as browsing the web, going on social media, phone calls, text messages, watching videos, all that stuff will be great on both devices, but definitely when it comes to some more demanding tasks, I would go with the 6A over the Samsung. Now the Galaxy A54 5G does support 4K video recording for both the front and rear cameras, whereas with the Pixel 6a, we do get 4K 60 with the rear camera, but the front-facing camera is limited at 1080p. It definitely would have been nice to see 4K video recording with the front-facing camera. Another difference is the battery capacity that we're getting with these two devices. We're getting a much larger battery with the Galaxy A54 5G at 5,000 mAh compared to 4,410 mAh with the Pixel 6a. And then another big difference is that with the Galaxy A54 5G, you can fast charge at up to 25 watts, whereas the Pixel 6a maxes out at 18 watts for fast charging. Now both phones have been updated to the most recent version of Android, which is Android 13. Samsung does of course give us their skin, whereas the Pixel, we get the Pixel experience. Both offer a slew of different useful features, and it really comes down to personal preference for which ecosystem and which Android type you prefer. I know that many people do actually like Samsung skin because they add in a lot of bonus features, and if you own other Samsung devices, it does integrate really well. Whereas if you have other Pixel devices, then that'll tie in really well with the Pixel. So it really comes down to personal preference. And then both phones do feature stereo speakers, and they both have NFC. So if you want to do tap to pay, you can do that with either of the two phones. But now that I've gone over a variety of different things about the specifications and features of these two devices, let's take a closer look at the hardware. So the front panels are pretty different, also kind of similar, but you can see it's definitely more boxy with the 6A. On the left side of the two phones, we have nothing on the Galaxy A54 5G, whereas with the Pixel 6A, we do have the slot for the SIM card. Then on the right side of the two phones, we have volume up, volume down, and the power button with the A54. And then with the Pixel, it kind of flips the two. So we have the power button and then volume up and volume down. Then up top here on the Samsung, we have the noise canceling microphone and then also the slot for the micro SD card and SIM card. And then on the Pixel, we just have the noise canceling microphone. Also, what's interesting too is that with the A54, we have plastic around the side band here, whereas we have metal on the side band for the 6A. But then on the back of the two phones, it's glass on the back of the A54, but then plastic on the back of the 6A. Then taking a look at the bottom of the two phones, on the A54, we have the microphone, we have the USB-C port for charging and data transfer, and the speaker. And then on the 6A, we have the microphone, speaker, and USB-C port. Then taking a look at the back of the two phones, we have the camera modules, flash, and then the logos for the two brands. And then both phones do have glossy backs. And then you probably noticed too that on the 6A, we have multiple tones here, so it's kind of a cool looking design in general. Definitely a bit more interesting, I feel like, compared to the A54. But in conclusion, which phone is the better choice of the two? I would say if you're already very familiar with Samsung products, then the A54 5G would be a natural fit for you. However, the Pixel 6a is more powerful and more capable in some regards. The cameras, I would say, on here, despite being a lower megapixel count, are better. They're using better quality sensors, and also they have better AI and other image processing compared to Samsung. That being said though, the A54 does still have really good cameras as well. But then when it comes to the display, by far the A54 5G does have the better display of the two. It's brighter, it has a faster refresh rate, and it's also bigger. So the A54 5G is definitely the better phone of the two for watching content and doing different things on the actual phone itself. But overall, I think both of these phones are great choices. There's definitely some pros and cons with each, but most importantly, I'm really curious to know what you think. Which of these two phones do you prefer, and which one would you go with? Definitely let me know in the comment section below. But this is Kevin here, comparing the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G versus the Google Pixel 6a. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one. Take care and have a great rest of your day.